Alright, so first of all, if you have not seen, I did a 300 subscriber special part 1. So go ahead and leave Q&A questions, which I'm going to do part 2 probably maybe within a week of uploading the video. We'll see. I do want to give it some time because obviously I'm a smaller channel, so I know, like, I'm not going to get a whole bunch of comments day one. I know how this works. I know how YouTube works. I know how they treat their smaller YouTube channels. I know I'm not promoted and whatnot out there a lot. Like, it's got to grind for it, obviously. So, again, maybe, like, next Wednesday, Thursday, maybe even next Friday. Wait a week and 3 days to do part 2 and do my Q&A. There is a couple other things that thinking about doing. We'll see if I, just do a Q&A only for part 2 or if I'm going to have other stuff sprinkled in. I haven't really figured it out. I'm still kind of talking to some people right now, so we'll see. But this topic for today's video, I want to talk about essentially the future. Looking after Aaron Rodgers leaves. And there was this report that I think it was yesterday or the day before, and I don't know this guy. I don't know if he's a real insider. I don't know if, like, maybe he's just messing with people and it just caught on and, like, people started noticing it, noticing it and, like, okay, well, let's run with this or something. I don't know. So take this with a grain of salt because I don't know if it's true. But the report came out and said that Aaron Rodgers is done after this season. He wants to retire after this season. So, one, do not pull a Brett Favre. Whatever you do not pull a Brett Favre. Just don't. And two, if it is at the end of the season, well, I'll make a video. Well, I mean, I can cover. There's so much I could do for a video for that too. But again, we'll wait and see if it's true. If it's not true, I don't know. I've just saw this report because people are talking about it online and whatnot. So I don't know, but that started getting me thinking, and I was looking at a whole bunch of comments around the internet, kind of worried about this team already. We're heading into week 6. I was gonna do week 5. Week 6 we're heading into, and people are worried about this offense. People are upset about this defense again, which again technically it's Joe Barry's second year, and we had a very good defense last year, especially in the later stretch of the season, as they started to figure out the kinks and whatnot. So I'm hopefully thinking, is what I wanted to say, that they'll figure out the kinks by mid-season and by the second half of the season, by potentially playoffs if we make it there, because I don't know if we're going to make it there now. Hopefully it's better. So, but I want to talk about the future, because again, there's a lot of negativity out there, and this is hard because all my lifetime, most people's lifetime, that support the Packers, root for the Packers, or even if you hate the Packers, you've known Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, back-to-back Hall of Fame QBs, back-to-back Super Bowl winners. Obviously, Brett Favre could have had 2, but they lost to the Broncos. And I guess technically Rodgers still could have 2 if they win it this year. But anyway, there's been really no other QB. There's no real QB controversy. There's been no real threats of either of those 2 QBs losing their jobs. So, the haters and the lovers have only seen 2 back-to-back Hall of Fame QBs. And who knows what's going to happen after that? Do I think Jordan Love is a Hall of Fame QB? No. Personally, I don't. I don't hate the pick as much as a lot of people do. There's a lot of people out there that absolutely hate the pick, absolutely just despise Jordan Love, which you should not be attacking Jordan Love. First and foremost, he was drafted by the Packers. He didn't pick and go, I want to go to the Packers. I want to go there. I want to back up Aaron Rodgers. He didn't get to choose where to go. He fell, and the Packers, I think they traded up. I believe they traded up for him. And they got their guy and in the first round, and it was the Packers that did that. It wasn't Jordan Love. So if you're attacking Jordan Love, you're dumb. But is he a great QB? don't think so. I don't think he's really that good. We've had now a full preseason, and we had one full game, which was the Chiefs last year to see. I personally, I don't look too much into that Week 18 against the Lions last year because that just kind of, to me, that felt like, hey, we'll just give Jordan the basic packages. Because I think Rodgers played the first half of that Lions game Week 18, I believe. Maybe it was the first quarter. It might have only been the first quarter. Point is, you know, we didn't see him for a full game, and it didn't feel like they were really trying to do anything. They were just kind of going out there to, hey, let's have some fun today. Let's give the backups a chance to, you know, see what they can do. And, you know, Jordan Love didn't shock me. I didn't watch the game. I had to go back and watch the highlights of the game because I'm like, I don't really care about this because, again, we're just watching backups play. So I didn't watch the game live. I just kind of watched the highlights afterwards. And they did lose that game because I remember Matt LaFleur had this whole speech and whatnot. But, you know, I don't think Jordan Love is going to lose anywhere unless he suddenly gets 50 times better by next, you know, off-season, next preseason and whatnot, and he's looking like a younger Aaron Rodgers, you know, before, I would say like 2008, 2007, 2008, so after his first season, obviously, because they went, I think it was, 7-9 is what Rodgers went in his first season. So, you know, as he started to get in the flow of Mike McCarthy's offense, started to look a little bit better, and and everyone realized, like, hey, like, this guy's good. That's kind of what Jordan Love has to become in order for this Packers team to be a Super Bowl contender again post Aaron Rodgers. So I don't see that happening. And if people are upset now, right now, with Aaron Rodgers, with essentially young rookie, you know, sophomore, you have Cobb out there, you have Lazard out there. You know, these younger wide receivers, less experienced. Lazard, who isn't really used to being a number one. Cobb, who... I don't know if I would say Cobb was ever a number one, because we had Nelson, we had Jennings and whatnot when Cobb was there. So I don't know if I would say Cobb was ever the number one option. Obviously, he had games. He had great games. I still think, I mean, that Packers... wide receiver core in the 2010s, I still think was very good, like very talented. So it's like Cobb didn't need to be number one because you had Jennings, you had Nelson, you know, that could be the standout guy. But Rodgers, you know, he didn't focus on just Nelson. He didn't focus just on Jennings. Like, he would, you know, spread the ball around because we had a bunch of talent everywhere. So who knows what's going to happen with Cobb in the future. He might only play maybe a season or two. He might see Jordan Love for, you know, next year if he stays around next year and it's like, I'm gone. I'm going into retirement too. So we'll see. But offensively, we're going to take a bigger step down than defensively. And that's because we have, I think, is it Gary? Is his rookie deal up next year? Or the fall? We have a couple years with that. I think it was a fifth-year option for Jair. We just gave him that this year. You know, Stokes is young. Stokes will be on the rookie contract. Kenny Clark is, I forget how many years he's around for. Was that a 4-year deal? That might have been a 4-year deal. That might have been. He got paid. I know that. I mentioned Gary. Preston, I don't... Maybe Preston Smith isn't around in a couple years. Who knows if Rasul Douglas is? I imagine Jair might resign. No, we resigned Jair, didn't we? I see. There's been so much that's happened. And that Jair signing was back in was it May? I think is when we re-signed. We either re-signed him or we gave him the 5th-year option. But point is we have a bunch of younger defensive players that are, you know, studs. And, you know, if Eric Stokes takes another step up in the next year and then does that again in the following year, we'll probably have to pay him again, too. But, you know, there's a lot more studs. I personally think the defense is better than what most people give it credit for. I love to look at the second half of last year and that Niners game, watch that defense just explode and be amazing. I don't think they allowed a single touchdown from the Niners offense. So the fact that the special teams allow the touchdown and our offense couldn't do anything like that, there's no blame on the defense at all last year. I think the second half of the year, going in the playoffs, even if we make the playoffs this year, but even down the road, I think Joe Barry might stick around. Now, I guess there's a whole thing of Matt LaFleur's finally being called out, which I've been doing for 2 years. I love to say that because I've been on this channel, which again no one has seen because this is a smaller channel. But people are finally calling out Matt LaFleur. And if he goes, probably Joe Barry goes too, because whoever the next head coach probably gonna come in and just wipe everything clean, and just start doing his own defense, his own offense. But if Matt LaFleur's around, I think we're gonna struggle. I think if he's calling offensive plays, I think we're gonna struggle. Joe Barry, again, I think the defense will be okay. I think they will come future. They'll be okay. It might be kind of like a Broncos situation right now where, Russell Wilson and the Broncos offense are abysmal, absolutely atrocious right now, and that defense isn't actually that bad. Obviously, they didn't let up a single touchdown to the Colts. They only lost 11-10 to the Niners. So like that, the defense keeps them in the games, but the offense can't score points. And that's what the Packers' future kind of feels like, is how are we going to score points when our defense will be looking okay? But then, people are going to hate on the defense, despite the fact that, it's the offense doing the job, or the defense doing their job, and the offense is just... they're not showing up, and they're just, not looking good at all. But that's going to bring down the defense eventually, too. Against these good teams, it's going to bring down the defense, too. So, I mean, I don't want to say this year is like... excuse me. The standard for what's to come in the future, because I think the offense will be a lot worse, but I don't think the defense is going to take such a huge step back in the post-Rodgers era, whether that be with Love, whether that be with who, I don't even know. I don't even know who else I could say could take over at QB, because Packers front office doesn't want to get anyone. They're maybe that's got to change too in the future. So I don't know. I don't know how to make people feel better, because this is what sucking is gonna feel like. It's gonna be things getting worse, offense getting worse, defense again getting a little bit worse with maybe some people are gone, but I think Joe Barry can make an okay defense. It's just the offense is probably gonna suck, and we're probably gonna go to a pre-Favre era again, at least for a little bit. Maybe they can draft someone. Maybe they can get a QB kind of a little bit older that reemerges and just goes on a run of his life with the Packers in the future. It's gonna take some getting used to. It really is. And obviously, the standard here in Green Bay, in Wisconsin, is we're title town. So, we're originally, or we're what the trophy is originally named after in football. So, there's a standard here. There's always going to be a standard, and when a team like that sucks, the fan base, especially now with the internet, the fan base is going to go absolutely crazy. Sides are going to be taken and whatnot. So I can't imagine what the internet would have been like in the 70s and 80s when the Packers were absolute trash. Pre-Favre era, post-Bart Starr as QB era, because, we don't talk about his coaching. But I can't imagine what the internet would have been like with a decade plus of atrocious QBing, atrocious offense, defense not even being that good. So we might go back to that. And there's going to be a lot of overreactions. There's going to be a lot of people upset about that. There's probably going to be fans that are just going to not even support the Packers anymore. I'm telling you right now, there's going to be. Because people only support you if you're winning. That's when the fake fans decide to leave. Real fans will stay through thick and thin, through the hard times. So, all the fans that did it in the 70s and 80s, you got Brett Favre, we got another Super Bowl, and then we just went back-to-back and got Aaron Rodgers again, and he got another Super Bowl. So, it's going to feel weird to a lot of younger fans, and it's hard to prepare for. It really is. But if you start preparing now, it can sting a little bit less. And obviously, you're always going to have those trolls online right now that are going to be like, oh, the Packers suck and blah, 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 blah. Because they just want to make fun of the Packers, despite the fact that they might be a Bears fan. And when's the last time you won anything? 85. Oh, that's... You have to be like 50 years old or something like that to even remember that. Vikings never won a Super Bowl. Their best defenses, they call them the Purple People Eaters, was what, the 70s? Lions at least a little bit newer. Barry Sanders, great, one of the best running backs all time, top 3 all time in everyone's tier list. If you want to call him the best, you can call him the best. The point is, they had that. They had Megatron, kind of recently, but they never made the playoffs. I think the 90s was the last time they made the playoff. Well, no, they won a playoff game because they made, was that 2012 they made the playoffs? They lost to Seattle. I'll never forget that game. I remember watching that game. So, NFC North fans, like, they've never won anything. They don't know what it feels. Well, except for the Bears. But again, you have to be like 50 years old to remember that Super Bowl win. And then even outside of that, like, you have the Patriots who just... Tom Brady screwed everything up. Everything up by winning 6. He set the standard higher. He made the media just suck him off and say, okay, well, if you have 1 ring, you're trash because you're not Tom Brady. Despite the fact that it's so hard to win. So, again, I'm kind of going off the rails here a bit. But, ignore the trolls. Because the trolls, again, probably support a terrible team. Or, the Patriots, Patriots might not even come back. They might not win another Super Bowl for 30 years or something like that. Because I don't think Mac Jones is good enough to get them there. They don't really have offensive weapons right now, and that's kind of Bill Belichick just does his own thing. So we could return into the Patriots. We're a post-Brady era where we just slip. We go from QB to QB. Obviously, they went from Brady to... Cam Newton to Mac Jones, Brian Hoyer played, now Bailey Zappi's playing. So we could bounce around for a while until they, find a guy. And we could do the same thing. So I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it very well could happen. And again, Rodgers is he doesn't want to play till 50. So it's going to be hard to accept the fact that the Packers one day will be bad, and that might be very soon. But if you're going to go through the good times, you got to go through the bad times too. Got to stick with it. Don't be a fake fan. Don't leave through the bad times and then pop up again when the Packers randomly win a Super Bowl in 20-plus years and go, yeah, I was here the whole time. No, you weren't. So, for now, like the video, share the video around, don't subscribe. I'm excited. I'm not excited, but I'm interested to see if Matt LaFleur sticks around, if Rodgers does retire, what is the offense going to look like, how bad it's going to be next year. So, with that being said, I'm out of here. Peace.